They were winning and still losing. You take ground, it means nothing. You wait, no enemy. Then violence. Fast, precise, gone. This wasn't a battle the army was losing. It was a war breaking them from within. And the deeper they pushed, the less control they had. The war didn't look like war. No lines, no clear enemy, no moment where it finally ended. Just silence, then movement, then violence. In the dense wetlands of Florida, the Seminole Wars became something unfamiliar. Not a clash of armies, a slow unraveling. Discipline meant less with every step forward. Survival meant everything. Because this wasn't a battlefield, it was something far worse. Chapter 1. The Army That Fought the Wrong War. The army came ready for control. Heavy infantry, uniforms soaked in sweat before the first engagement. Supply wagons dragged through mud that refused to let go. Rigid formations trained for visibility, not uncertainty. Everything built for open combat. But the Seminoles never showed up for that fight. Under leaders like Osceola, they refused to be predictable. They watched, waited, learned patterns. They moved in small groups, striking at the exact moment discipline broke. They moved fast, struck without warning, and vanished into terrain the army couldn't control. Silence would stretch for hours. Then suddenly, gunfire would rip through it. And just as quickly, it was gone. No pursuit, no counterattack, no target left behind. Victories felt empty because nothing was truly won. Ground taken meant nothing the moment it was left behind. Territory meant nothing because it could not be held. The army wasn't losing battles. It was losing control of the war itself. And the further they advanced, the clearer it became. This enemy wasn't trying to win in the way they understood. They were forcing the army into a fight it could not control. Chapter 2. The Land That Refused Control. The deeper the army moved, the weaker it became. Each step slowed. Each movement drained energy before the fight even began. The Everglades turned movement into punishment. Water erased roads. Heat pressed constantly, wearing men down long before contact. Disease spread quietly, cutting through units without warning. Soldiers marched for days and found nothing. No enemy, no target, no direction. Then suddenly, ambush. Gunfire from angles that made no sense. Visibility too limited to respond in time. By the time orders formed, the attackers were gone. The Seminoles knew every inch, every hidden path, every place to disappear. They didn't defend positions. They controlled movement itself. The army responded the only way it knew how. Build forts, hold ground, expand presence. Structures rose in isolation, surrounded by uncertainty. But the war ignored them. The Seminoles simply moved around them. And slowly, a realization began to settle in. The army could occupy land, but it could not control the fight. Some details in historical records vary depending on sources, but the core events remain widely documented. Chapter 3. The Illusion of Power. So the army tried something bigger. Spread out, push into more territory, apply pressure everywhere at once. On paper, it looked like control. Positions marked, routes defined, presence expanded. It felt like progress. It was neither. Supply lines stretched thinner with every mile. Delays became constant. Communication broke apart under distance and terrain. Messages arrived too late, or not at all. Small units became exposed. And the Seminoles adapted again. They didn't confront strength. They targeted weakness. Supply routes, isolated patrols, moments of fatigue. They struck, then disappeared before any response could form. What looked like expansion became vulnerability. Inside the forts, something else was collapsing. Morale. Time slowed down. Waiting replaced action. Fear replaced clarity. Soldiers trained for decisive battles were now chasing shadows. No victories. No end in sight. Just pressure building. The war wasn't just physical anymore. It was psychological, and the army was losing ground in both. Chapter 4. The Shift That Changed Everything. When direct victory failed, the strategy changed. The objective hardened. Stop chasing warriors. Start targeting survival. Villages were destroyed. Crops burned before they could sustain another season. Food supplies seized or wiped out completely. Families forced to move or scatter. The goal was no longer victory in battle. It was to make resistance impossible, but even that met resistance. In Florida, survival wasn't fixed. It adapted. Food could be found, hidden, or moved. Movement replaced dependency. The Seminoles adapted again, moving deeper into the swamps, living off a landscape the army still could not master. So the war dragged on. Years passed. Costs rose. Pressure mounted. Frustration grew with no clear end. And still, no clear victory. Until the strategy shifted again. Attack when movement stops. During later phases, campaigns focused on moments when Seminole groups were less mobile. Encampments became targets. Escape became harder. Pressure increased. Options shrank. Not through a decisive battle, but through time, through exhaustion. And slowly, resistance was reduced, but not erased. Because even at the end, a group of Seminoles remained in Florida, never fully defeated, never fully surrendered. Chapter 5. The war that couldn't be won normally. This was never a conventional war. It was a mismatch from the beginning. One side relied on structure, supply, and visibility. Clear systems, predictable movement, defined control. The other relied on movement, adaptation, and invisibility. Unpredictable, flexible, untraceable. Every strength the army had became a weakness in the swamps. Heavy logistics slowed them down. Supply lines exposed them. Visibility made them easier to track. Every weakness the Seminoles had became an advantage. Mobility meant survival. Decentralization meant resilience. Knowledge of the land became power. And that is what stretched the conflict across decades. Not just resistance, but a strategy the army didn't understand until it was forced to change. And by the time it did, the damage was already done. On the land, on the soldiers, on the people it was meant to remove. Closing reflection. Power alone does not guarantee control. Understanding does. The Seminole Wars show what happens when a stronger force fights the wrong kind of war. Not losing because it is weak, but struggling because it cannot adapt fast enough. And when that realization comes late, the cost is measured in years, not moments. Because history doesn't just remember who won. It remembers how they fought and what it cost. Thanks for watching. Mode Hub Tales brings untold history to life. Stories history rarely tells the right way. Subscribe now to uncover more. Because history doesn't disappear, it waits to be remembered.